Some major budget cuts are being proposed by the Malloy administration. Governor now talking about cutting millions of dollars from the arts. News 8's Kent Pierce live in News 8 Control this midday with reaction. Kent.
Well, Keith, in this proposal from the governor, we're talking about a couple dozen organizations that suddenly have $0 in funding. And if they don't get their funding, it could be curtains for a lot of these cultural institutions. Folks at the International Festival of Arts and Ideas in New Haven tell us this comes at a terrible time for them. There's 4 months or so until the festival, and the performers are already locked in, and to suddenly find out that $800,000 in state funding might not be there, well, it could be devastating if it really happens. It's not just the festival, of course. Theaters like the Bushnell in Hartford and the Schubert in New Haven depend on that state funding too, and they point out that their shows bring in lots of money to the state and to their cities by getting people out on the town, spending money in restaurants and bars before and after the shows. The cuts would affect museums too. The Connecticut Science Center would lose $630,000 if this happens. And in that case, you're cutting an opportunity for Connecticut's children to get interested in science and engineering. Now, this comes as a big surprise to everyone involved. Everyone hopes this is just a different way of funding these institutions and not a complete defunding of them. But the tough part right now is trying to figure out what the governor is trying to do.
We need to just have a sense of what he's thinking. I think that, we feel a little vulnerable right now, needless to say, but we're going to have a great festival in June because I know that we're on the same page in terms of generating revenue for this state, and that's what we've been doing for 17 years.
Arts and Ideas brings 100,000 people into New Haven every year, generating $20 million in economic impact. And Mary Lou says she needs to know she's on stable economic footing when she's negotiating with the artists in order to get them to come to New Haven in the first place. Now, the Malloy administration is kind of hinting right now that it wants groups to apply for funding, reapply essentially every year, and basically compete with each other for a pool of arts funds. The people who run these groups say it's a little tough to do your yearly budget when you never know what your state funding is going to be. Live in News 8 Control, I'm Kent Pierce, News 8.